Okay, welcome everyone to our 2:30 session. My name is Michael Roback. I'm currently the director at the University of St. Thomas School of Law, Minnesota Library. I am the moderator for this panel, which is called Bridging the Gap on Legal Tech Proficiency at Law Schools. Our panelists, as you can see, are not here. They are through here, here via Zoom. So let me start by saying that this is a panel that actually was born or became a creation in August 2014 when the ABA's Commission on the Future of Legal Service set out to improve the delivery of and access to legal services in the United States. The findings and recommendations of the Commission's two-year undertaking are contained in the report on the future of legal services in the United States. On August 15th, 2016, the ABA announced the creation of the Center for Innovation. The center's creation was based on a recommendation from the Commission. The center's mission is to encourage and accelerate innovations that improve the affordability, effectiveness, efficiency, and accessibility of legal services. As part of the center's work, they operate a program of fellows who work to enhance legal services and improve access to justice. There are two types of fellows, NextGen and Innovation. The Fellows Program is designed to bring creative thinkers to the center to develop and launch new projects to address critical needs in the legal sector. In January of 2017, the center opened its applications for the inaugural Fellows Group, and on July 31st, 2017, the Center for Innovation announced the first 8 inaugural fellows, NextGen and Innovation Fellows. I am pleased to say two things. One, today we have 4 of the 8 inaugural fellows with us to discuss this topic. And I will say it was their idea. This presentation is their idea. I simply was asked to be the moderator and to help work through some of the procedurals of the program. But I'm also pleased to say that one of my students, when I was at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, Brian Wilson, is one of the 8 inaugural fellows as well. So I think the fact that someone's a fellow is actually a high testament to the school and to what the work the school is doing in the area of innovation. So personally, from my perspective, if there's a takeaway here, you should have one of your students become a fellow. That's what I think. Having said that, I'll now turn it over to our panel, and I guess I'll start, okay, so you guys can't see, but I have on the screen to my left our panelists, Amanda Brown, Athena Fan, Tobias Franklin, Irene Moe, listing their universities, or listing their law schools, and also their Twitter handles. And I will now let Toby take it away.
Sure. Thank you very much, Michael. And thank you to the Cali organizers for enabling us to do this different certification format. So just a little bit of background. This is just a background for me, right, Michael?
Yes, right.
So I am a graduate, a 2013 graduate of the University of Maine School of Law, and I'm a NextGen Fellow at the ABA Center for Innovation. And my focus as in this one-year fellowship program is building out a project called Fair Screening, which is a tool to help self-represented tenants obtain and amend copies of their tenant screening reports, their background check reports that they get when they're applying for apartments. So this is an area, a project that mixes my background in law and technology, and the ABA gave me the space and the tools to really work on this for a year in residence in Chicago. And that's just generally what I'm working on right now.
Hi everyone, my name is Athena Fan. I graduated from American University Washington College of Law last year, and I'm currently working on a chatbot project using artificial intelligence to break down legal information so that self-represented litigants can easily access legal information on one platform. And what inspired me to do this project was from my experience as a student attorney at the law school's civil advocacy clinic, and then also my own experience helping litigants and also dealing with self-represented litigants. And I think it's very important to have mobile accessible technology to help self-representatives access law.
Irene?
Hi everyone, my name is Irene. I'm also a fellow at the Youth Foundation, and my project is focused on helping low-income and marginalized individuals understand their privacy and data security risks. So what I've been working on the last couple of months is working with statewide legal resources websites to integrate a privacy checkup tool into their resources. I graduated from the legal R&D program at Michigan State in May 2017.
Guess that leaves me. Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Brown. I'm a 2016 graduate of Loyola University in New Orleans. And there I participated in a legal technology clinic, which kind of drove me into technology projects, and then that's how I ended up at the ABA Center for Innovation. I am currently stationed in Redmond, Washington at the Microsoft headquarters because the project that I'm working on with a number of other stakeholders is the Legal Services Corporation's portal project. So the primary objective of that project is to really be an all-encompassing platform for self-represented litigants and people that fall within that justice gap to be able to access legal information, but also community resources and get referrals. So it's a really massive project that Alaska and Hawaii are partnering with the Legal Services Corporation, Pro Bono Net, and Microsoft on.
Very good. Now, the next stage here is for each of you to give us a background about your legal education and the kinds of things that you encountered in your quest for learning more about technology while you were at your respective law schools. And we can start in reverse, and we'll start with Amanda, and then go back around and end up with Toby.
Sure. So as I mentioned, I went to Loyola University in New Orleans. They actually did have a legal technology clinic there, but in my experience, it was not widely advertised or promoted. In fact, I believe there were maybe 8 students in the clinic when I was there. So some of the gap was just not knowing about this resource and this opportunity to dive into a different part of the legal profession. But thankfully, I did participate, and it led me here to where I am today.
Irene?
Yeah, so at Michigan State, we have Legal R&D, the Center for Legal Services Innovation, and that had a huge focus on incorporating technology and innovation into the practice of law, as well as process management and process improvement. There are a lot of classes we had really focused on sort of understanding the legal technology field and how you can use it to enhance your practice of law. On top of that, we also had a litigation certificate program that had classes focused on courtroom technology.
And Irene, can you talk a little bit, you were there when the transition happened between Dan Katz and Dan Lina, and what became of that, or I guess what happened in that particular situation?
Yeah, so when I was a undergrad student, I went to Michigan State's open house and heard about Dan Katz's Reinvent Law program, and that was the reason that I went to Michigan State. Unfortunately, he left after my 1 year before I could take any classes with him, and I was just sort of left there, like, okay, I just went to Michigan State for this program, and now I don't know what's going on with it. But luckily, we had Dan Lina there who picked up the ball, and I was able to work with him during my last 2 years of law school to help launch and shape the legal R&D program there.
Very good. Athena or Toby, whichever.
So I went to American, and when I was American, there were a few legal tech oriented courses. One particular that really, I would say, shaped my perspective on really diving into legal tech is the law practice management class. Was taught by two adjunct professors, Professor Spector, also Professor Bowen, and both really emphasized using, for example, case management software like Clio, and then introduce the students to other legal tech software. And I really picked that course because it really opened my mind and also opened my mind to the legal tech industry. And then after I left, recently American has added quite a few more legal tech-oriented courses, including like coding for lawyers. And so I'm really happy to see how the law school has definitely improved in introducing more courses for law students.
Law for me was a second career. I started out as a technology project manager, and coming into law school, there wasn't really any, at my school, there weren't really any classes up until the end of the second year. It sort of was a challenge trying to figure out how to integrate the law piece and the technology piece as a student and as somebody seeking employment at firms around town. I went on one interview, sort of memorable moment, where as soon as they found out that I had any kind of tech or IT background, they stopped asking me legal questions and started asking for advice on the website. So I knew at that point that, okay, this is going to be somewhat of a challenge trying to position this correctly. Luckily, things were looking a little bleak, but luckily at the end of the second year, I discovered expert systems and the concept of expert systems through a project that a professor was doing at the law school, Professor Los Lapika, and she had previously done a lot of work in the bankruptcy field. And she got an outside grant from the Maine Economic Improvement Fund to study the access to justice crisis in Maine and pro se work in Maine and pro se litigation. So we had the opportunity to build applications from scratch using expert system technology, using neural logic. And that's what really helped me figure out, okay, I can use what I've learned in law and what I know about tech and web development. I put the two together here, so that's when things started to take off. And I wouldn't have had that at law school if it wasn't for this grant program and the work they were offering with expert systems.
And tell us a little bit about your work with Neota Logic. How hard, how difficult, what exactly did you do with Neota Logic?
So we used Neota Logic to build two apps, one designed for self-represented litigants dealing with housing issues. They helping you figure out communications letters to your landlord, identifying problems with your apartment. And the other application was designed for what is low bono practices or high volume consumer practices. In this case, around folks practices doing family law to help litigants working in those practices draft their own complaints for divorce or separation. And that we use those to build two different apps in Neota. It was a challenge trying to kind of pick up the logic, but once you picked up kind of the logical flow and everything, the interface made it much simpler to put an application together. So there's definitely a lot we could do out of the box to build applications fairly quick.
All right, so the next area that we wanted to talk a little bit about were improving opportunities. And I guess this is where we want to look for some concrete takeaways for the audience about your view as, recently graduated law students about things that you think could improve opportunities for students who are in school now or in the future. So, Toby, you want to start?
Sure. So I think there's a couple of different things that could be done. I think one approach that some law schools like mine have tried, and it's a tough one. The law school I went to is definitely one that's I'd say scrappy. Always trying to get funding, trying to survive, trying to continue to grow and build their programs. And one approach they've tried is to set up like a course and say, okay, this is the apps course or something like that. And that can be tough because it's a challenge for funding And that's one approach that some schools have tried. That can be difficult. I think if it's possible, in a perfect world, you'd see ways to kind of integrate technology a little bit across all these different courses. Professor Allison Carroll at Northwestern gave a talk a while back, and I'll take this concept from her talk about the idea of kind of salting a bunch of different courses with a little bit of technology. They started to do that at my law school and got different people. For example, they were using certain devices for instant feedback in evidence class, for example. So introducing even just PowerPoint-based lectures in different classes, introducing technology bit by bit, I think can have a really good effect. And not just saying, okay, we're going to do our tech course, our one tech course, and then no one else will touch tech at the law school. So trying to do it a little bit across the spectrum, to me seems like it could be a good idea.
I think I have two main points. So the first main point is to really add more courses that focus on focus on helping law students become practitioners. So for example, and the second point is to install legal tech innovation practice into clinics. So the first point is, for example, because the law practice management class, the students in my class, we were able to get hands-on practice of how to even know how to record billable hours, really getting hands-on training on the practice of law, and those courses really need to be expanded, I think, in law school in general, to prepare law students for the legal career and also be more competitive in the legal market. Second point about installing legal tech into clinics. So I was part of the civil advocacy clinic at American, and I think we did use legal server to record case happenings, but I think there could have, in general, it would be helpful to have more technology be part of the student training experience. So then as student trainees are clients with real cases, then they're experimenting also using these legal tech tools, then that will also help them to be competitive also in the legal market after they graduate.
So I guess I just want to pick up on that little thread, Athena. You think that having a tech competency actually would make you more competitive in the marketplace today? Is that all of your feeling?
I believe so, but what about my co-panelists?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think to an extent, I think objectively it does make you more competitive, but there's still kind of a resistance to technology, or maybe a lack of acknowledgement that it is a competitive advantage, so I would just maybe balance the two there. In the long run, I really do think you are a more competitive candidate, because if you're focusing on this coursework, you're developing a lot of skills that other people are not. Project management, collaboration, stakeholder management, and really it all comes together into project management, which whether attorneys feel straightforward or not, that that's actually the case, it is what's happening. You do need to be more entrepreneurial, you do need to be better at managing your time, because that also has an effect on your outside of work life. So overall, I do think it is a competitive advantage, but that there's still some challenges ahead for recognizing that.
I think one of the benefits that having a tech competency offers is just being able to be ahead of the curve as far as a lot of recent graduates. I think for a lot of grads, we have what is called the false security of being a digital native and growing up with technology and using technology, but do we actually know how to use a lot of the things that we've grown up with? For example, a lot of people still only know how to use 10% of the functions in Word. And when you get to attorneys using Excel, forget about it. Not a lot of them know how to use it. So even though we grew up using Word or Excel, do we really know how to use them in context of legal practice? For example, I was interning at a government agency, and I used styles which pre-formatted the table of contents, footnotes, and they thought I was literally doing witchcraft. They literally said, "Is this witchcraft?" Just because I knew how to auto-format a brief.
And I'm sorry, I kind of made a digression there. Irene, you can pick up from the conversation that Toby and Athena were starting before. I just wanted to jump on the competitive advantage thing because I personally think that our faculty don't think it is a competitive advantage. So more anecdotal stories and more stories or more evidence that we can get that it means something, I think helps build the case for bringing these classes and courses into the curriculum. But that's an editorial comment, and I'm sorry. I'll back to the panel.
Yeah, I would just, echo Athena's point on having practical experiences. A lot of time when I have, process improvement, project management, legal technology, innovation, people want to dig more into that and make sure that I'm not just using buzzwords on my resume. So when I was able to say that I did a project at a state court, and after implementing a small change, I was able to reduce the incorrectly filed form by 100%, and I was able to reduce the questions asked about these forms by 75%. Those are the kinds of experiences that employers are looking for, that you are just going beyond the buzzwords, you have practical experience in this that you can actually apply into practice.
I mean, I would echo that as well, in the sense that just to look at the market here, I mean, there are more law students graduating. I would venture to say that there are more law students graduating than there are firm jobs available. So you got to expand the sense. I've heard people talking about, okay, well, is this a lawyer job or is this not a lawyer job? And we got to really expand what it is to have a lawyer job, that image of what it is to have a lawyer job. And so in terms of market advantages, competitive advantages, yeah, I mean, if you have, you're graduating a bunch of people from law school who are all taking very similar courses, and many of them may have done very well. But if you have that focus in these new areas of legal technology or project management and process improvement, those are skills you can take to a job that somebody who might just be focusing on traditional areas might not have. So it opens up an avenue of different kinds of employers that not all the graduates in your class might have.
And adding on to that point, I think a majority of law students, they either go into solo or small law firms, mid-sized law firms. Oftentimes, these roles require wearing a lot of hats, right? And then having technology, competency, and advantage, like in knowing how to wear these hats more efficiently, that's definitely giving these graduates a leg up in the job market.
I wanted to bring it back to the kind of discussion that we were having on how we can inject this into the curriculum. I would have to touch back, there's not much more to add other than add more classes on innovation or entrepreneurship that really helps strengthen those skills that people do need in a tight job market. But also going back to the clinic courses, I was fortunate enough that my school did have this. And one suggestion there is, if you're looking to incorporate this type of clinic into your curriculum, use it for good. That was the easiest decision for, clinics are often about serving underserved populations and marginalized populations. So in my case, we kind of developed the help the helper model. We went into this knowing that we were going to go serve legal aid organizations and help those attorneys become more competent. And it allowed us to develop those project management skills, but also get insights and kind of an appreciation for everything that legal aid attorneys do for our communities. So that's one option and a suggestion that I was making, is just allow students to use and build these technology skills, but do it for good. Why not?
And for each of you, I guess, did you have a lot of interaction with regular faculty members or more adjunct faculty members in terms of who was helping guide you in the technology area? And
I would definitely say it was an adjunct. The skew was more towards adjuncts because they have the practical knowledge and maybe some of these other skill sets that those who have invested their career in academia.
At my program, we had a mix between adjunct, non-tenured, and tenured faculty. It really was just depending on how the technology was related to the course. For instance, we had a contract professor who was a tenured professor that was really interested in teaching his students about blockchain technology. And then a lot of the practice management courses were taught by an adjunct. And then the director of our program was professor in residence.
The two professors who taught the law practice management class, they were partners in their own, like either in a partnership law firm or own their own law firm. So they definitely, like, through their own hands-on experience, they were like, hey, I need to use legal tech software to help me help themselves basically more efficient in how they manage their law firm affairs. So it was definitely very helpful to be taught by these adjunct professors who really they taught based on their own experience and also solving their own pain points and managing their own law firms.
So for the grant project that I was involved with, we had a professor who was a tenured professor who'd been there at the school for a long time. So that was really helpful to have a tenured professor be really championing this program, because then we got to, she helped bring other professors on board, and she helped message and communicate that to other members of the faculty.
so, from your current vantage point, especially at the Center for Innovation, because I'm guessing they're not just keeping you in a cube all day, or maybe they are, but what kinds of trends do you see underway in the tech area that law schools should be thinking about or looking at or working on in some way? And I'll throw it to Toby to start.
Sure. So, let me see, trends that schools should be thinking about. So yeah, we are chained to our desks most of the time here at the Center. So I think first and foremost, practice management software. To Athena's point, there are a lot of students that are going off on their own, or will be involved with small firms and things like that. So you need to have nobody should be graduating without some basic tech literacy. And that means understanding some practice management. I might actually backtrack and say Microsoft Office. So Word, to Irene's point, Word, Excel, Outlook, those kind of things that are going to be ubiquitous in any corporate employer or any law firm out there. So nobody should be graduating without that. It's not a trend so much; it's just a requirement that is in the marketplace. And I went to school with some people who weren't ready then on that level of firm and corporate technology. Taking to the next step, practice management. I think what we're going to see in maybe 5 to 10 years is around the use of expert systems and document assembly tools at law firms and in-house departments. So the ability to learn those tools and understand how those work, not only really as a skilled developer, but even just as a casual user of some of those tools, is going to be helpful. And then to a certain extent, more and more corporate, in-house corporate groups are using contract management. So that's another area in which contract management tools, which law schools might well look at.
And I would follow that, just from my vantage point in kind of in-house level legal services and legal operations. I've seen two trends really. The first is that within Microsoft, they've actually taken upon themselves to have a data science team within the legal operations department. So really turning on that analytical piece of a lawyer's brain is really important, because you need to ask the right questions in order to work with these data scientists to get the business information they're mining from this data. And a second would be actually blockchain and smart contracting. It's still kind of in its infancy, of course, and there's been a lot of back and forth on whether it's going to go anywhere or what the future of smart contracting looks like. But being able to have conversations with not just data scientists, but software developers, and helping them understand what the legal implications of a term are, so they can code it into a smart contract and trigger certain events upon the occurrence of some other events. Those are kind of the two trends that I've noticed from a corporate standpoint.
One of the more bleeding edge trends that I've noticed is artificial intelligence, and not like the extremes where, one person, one attorney might think it's going to completely replace attorneys, or the other extreme where people think that, there's no way it could do anything that an attorney can do, but really honing into like the anti-hype of artificial intelligence and recognizing where it is in its current state and then where it possibly can be, and being able to talk about it, in a realistic standpoint is something that I think a lot of law schools are focusing on, and making sure that their students understand that, yes, this is something that, could be a practice standard in the future, but right now it is relegated to repetitive tasks that, aren't at the very most advanced of legal thinking.
I think adding on to Evan's points, I see two main trends. So first trend is definitely focusing on using data as real evidence to continue to develop the legal tech products. What does that mean? For example, data about a concentration of issues from one area in the country, or like the location-based data, or data collected from consumer-facing products, that are legal tech products, and focus on that data, and then to continue to iterate and develop more products. So really focus on, instead of like theoretical thinking, but like looking at the data, looking at evidence to continue to iterate products. And then second trend I see is, which is, it should be like the main, I think, theme behind this law student's mindset when they are about to decide to go into law school, or go to law school, is that, the legal ecosystem is a business. It's a business. So so in law school, we're in these doctrinal classes, we're learning about case law. When we graduate, it is about being able to be part of the legal system and being part of the business system to service clients and then generate money for law firms or whatever entities that we work for. So it's a business system, and I think that kind of mindset really needs to be, installed within law schools a little bit more, instead of just thinking about like teaching law students theoretical information.
So I know you aren't in a position to help exactly change faculty hearts and minds, but from a student perspective, what kinds of things, or what did you see from the folks that you were working with that might have been helpful to get your projects underway in the different places that you were in terms of faculty communication and communication with students?
I think for me, one thing that would have helped would have been centralized messaging from law schools. So I've seen law schools with innovation programs where everyone's on board, from the dean all the way to librarians and all the faculty. And then there's been other innovation programs at law schools where it's sort of this standalone thing. They're trotting along despite opposition from tenured faculty and deans. And the ones that really thrive and are making waves in this industry are the ones with the standard messaging. For example, I started in the dual track where I did this legal technology path and then also the litigation certificate program. And when it came time to look for jobs, someone was wondering why I was struggling. They're like, oh, aren't you doing that legal tech stuff? Isn't that shouldn't that be your thing? And what they didn't understand was that a lot of the skills and mindsets that we learned in the legal technology courses were skills that were applicable across any subject matter area, or whether you're doing a litigation and transactional track. So really making sure that people are on board and understand what these courses and these programs are teaching students, so that when it does come time for them to enter into the legal marketplace, that everyone that is part of their law school can message this and sell your students as being the leaders in this field.
I would add that I think for these legal tech courses, it needs to be better marketed to students. So that definitely involves communication from faculty and from administrators with law schools. And part of that marketing is also perhaps like having students who took the course disclose their recommendations or like reviews of the courses. So then there's more transparency in introducing the courses, and hopefully that will generate more interest and also participation in these courses.
And I would, touching kind of on, in a similar vein of Irene's statement, I would say as far as changing hearts and minds, there's one lesson here, and it's really to just be patient. As Irene mentioned, there are certain schools they're really integrated with these technology programs, and then others they're kind of off to the side as a satellite thing. And you could see the same exact thing happening in the legal market. There's tons of firms that are super interested in innovation because that's what the clients really want. They want to see that firms are taking steps to evolve, because this is really about saving money is what it comes down to for firms. And it just takes time. You have to be patient. So that would be like a word of caution, I guess, is just look to the legal market, and you'll see a lot of the same things happening in law schools.
So go ahead, Tony.
I would say that it's I think being patient is good. I think continuing to follow a strategy, to Mayor's point, but let it play out and continuing to enforce that is important. I know at my school, the dean was very much behind what we were doing, and still is. And I think that without that, it would have been sunk. There would be no future there. Because that way, she found creative ways to kind of integrate that to different related events going on at the law school, to really champion and hype it up wherever she could. And the other aspect is to not let it stay siloed, not let your program stay siloed in the law school. Meaning, do demos, get faculty demos together, get demos to other students together, make sure that other people at the school are seeing what it is that you've developed or are developing. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be always in prime time, but let them see the output of that, the outcome of what it is you're developing, so that it isn't just the tech program off in the corner, and they have a real sense of what exactly it is you're doing there. And we started to do that. I don't think we did enough of that in the program I was involved in. I think there was some, attitudes of, oh, well, they're not independent, or these folks are not part of the program, but we should have done a lot more of that, and I think there's always room for more of that.
So this is a little off script, sorry, but what's the coolest thing you've done in the year that you've been at the Center for Innovation? And Amanda, I guess meeting Bill Gates, was that the high point for you?
I met his friends. That's close, right? He did give me a book signed by Bill Gates' father, but I would say probably the coolest thing here, I don't want to phrase it as cool, but it was really the challenge of this whole experience. I felt like, coming from law school, and then I went into my background a little bit was, I went to a legal aid organization to do disaster recovery work, and while I had touched on technology projects for a few years, kind of keeping my hands in different things, it was really being immersed in the whole experience, from designing to interacting with stakeholders to testing proof of concepts to creating data, and just really experiencing what it's truly like to build a technology solution. So overall, I think getting thrown into the gauntlet was the coolest thing that's happened to me.
Irene?
I would say for me, it's been the speaking opportunities and the networking opportunities. I've been able to go to conferences coast to coast, north, south, and really be able to represent the ABA in a positive light, which not a lot of practitioners actually view sometimes. It's really cool to be able to say that I'm part of the ABA Center for Innovation and have, practitioners realize that, the ABA is, trying to be more relevant to them and trying to understand a lot of the issues that are going on. Before, I would say even like Equifax or Facebook happened, not a lot of people viewed privacy as a public interest issue. So it's really cool that the ABA sponsored my project, and now, I see the dividends paying off as people are like, oh wow, this is a real issue that affects low-income people just like every other legal issue. And it was cool to say that, the ABA picked up on this, a year or two ago before, all this stuff made the news.
For me, it's definitely meeting all the passionate people, like practitioners, technologists, who are in the space of helping self-represent litigants. And 75% of all civil cases in the U.S. have at least one self-represent litigant. And I was fortunate enough to present at the self-represent litigant litigation network conference back in February, and just like meeting the legal aid practitioners and administrators and just people who are volunteering their time to really come up with grassroots and also technology-enabled solutions to help this huge population in the U.S. It's just definitely very inspiring, and I've been very fortunate as well to travel around the country and talk to people. And I think it is their passion and their drive to help people that's what has been the coolest part of this fellowship so far.
So I thought the coolest part, at the beginning of the fellowship, we did a 1-week boot camp, and we had one day with 6 hours of improv exercises.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's one of the coolest parts for me. I mean, all seriously, just the starting off on the right foot with sort of innovative exercises and new approaches to starting a team, and so the boot camp that we did at the beginning of the fellowship program was the coolest, was a very cool part of the fellowship.
Excellent. And as I recall, you had some pretty heavy hitters at the Improv too, right? They were the center, or the center's governing body and so forth. Is that right?
yeah, we got to work with Dean Perlman to make to pretend to make an airplane. Dean Perlman can stuff it, so.
He should be a professional improv actor.
So, and this is actually, I'm quite serious when I say I think that everyone in this room should think about how to figure out how they could get one of their students to become a fellow or think about applying for a fellowship. What would you say are the things that a student would need in their background? I mean, besides the interest in technology, what would make a good applicant for a fellow, not this year, but say next year, based on your experience?
So I would say you need to be self-directed. And I think going forward, a lot of the fellowships are going to be hosted at different nonprofit and legal services sites around and university sites around the country. But I would venture to say that it still apply for those areas, that you need to be self-directed in the sense that probably wherever you are, you're not going to get constant hands-on supervision. You're going to get a project you're doing, you're going to have some goals in mind, but you're going to need to be self-directed to set those goals and meet your to meet those. So you need to be somebody who's comfortable having an idea what you're supposed to do and then running with it.
I would say definitely having the spirit of not being afraid to fail and really be able to persevere through navigating the uncertainty of idealizing and then creating a project out of your mind and out of your network, and really that uncertainty I think a lot of people have difficulty with, but I think it's for whoever wants to apply for the fellowship, they need to think about, okay, I'm willing to persevere through this uncertainty and really make this project or fellowship become a reality.
I would just jump in to say, you definitely need to have a demonstrated interest in technology. And I guess what I mean by that is there's coursework, of course, and there's clinic work, but I'll also take the chance to plug the Access to Justice Fellows program that's actually for law students. Miguel Willis runs the program. It's amazing, it's expansive, and law students can get involved, as early, I believe, as 1 or 2 a year. So really having a demonstrated interest in not just technology, but also helping people, because the ABA does have a big focus on the access to justice gap and public service. That would be what I would say.
Mr. Moderator, I'm
Yes.
one of those tech fellows, so
Ah,
if you guys want to find out more about it, talk to me.
oh, excellent.
Wonderful.
We have an audience, sorry, the cameras, I can't move it around, but we have a tech fellow here.
That's
Irene?
great.
I was trying to think of something that was, different than self-directed and not being afraid to fail and I don't know, another word I can come up with is being a hustler. This is not a 9-to-5 job, 40-hour type thing. You need to be ready to put your all into this project and make sure that you get out of this fellowship what you want out of it. A lot of times there are a lot of obstacles in your way when you're doing a project that you've come up with yourself or when you're relying on other people, and you really need to be able to push through that, make things work, and just, keep going. I don't know if that's something that can be taught. I know that's something that's a personality trait, but if you are not strong enough to be able to deal with setbacks, this is not the position for you, because we definitely all have a lot of challenges, that we could not foresee at the beginning of our fellowship, and a lot of it we were able to overcome, based on the camaraderie that we had and being able to talk through these problems and think about workarounds. So, this is definitely not for someone who needs hand-holding or someone who is, consistently looking for direction, because a lot of it is the direction that you make for yourself.
Very good. Okay, at this point, we'll turn it over to the audience for any questions for the panelists, any additional thoughts on, or I guess, questions you can think that help highlight this bridge. Yes.
I have a question. So it seems about technology and your experience with technology as students, and the assumption, right, you guys mentioned being digital natives, and there's that assumption that you know everything, and then you get out there and it's like, oh my God, what happened? I think, or what I've seen is usually from K through 12, there is a similar assumption, right? That students will have Chromebooks, that they know how to use the Office suite. Whether or not they internalize it, they use OneNote, they use Word, they use PowerPoint, they use all these tools. And then you go to undergrad, and I think we make the assumption that those tool skills continue on, but then you get to 1L, and it's almost like everything disappears. I'm speaking as a technologist at a law school. What was your undergrad experience, or is law school just so different when it comes to the use of Word, and when it comes to the use of PowerPoint, or even Excel is non-existent, that we really do need to start incorporating those things back in, as opposed to assuming you're getting the training, you know, that you need through your undergrad research classes, or, you know, things like that?
Did you hear that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can start. So I was a math and economics major, so the only time I really used my laptop was to, you know, write papers, and that didn't really, again, require a lot of functionality that Word is actually built for. It's just typing and then, you know, putting in citations. I definitely think the law school use of, you know, even Microsoft Office is a lot different as far as, you know, formatting a table of contents, or like auto-formatting your footnotes, so that if you know, edit a paper, you don't have to go through and change your sites or anything like that. Another thing that was sort of, that set off alarm bells in a lot of my classmates who said that they weren't good with computers and technology wasn't their thing, was the story about the attorney who didn't redact a PDF correctly, and someone was able to copy and paste over the PDF text and find out what they were redacting. Or, you know, someone who got reprimanded for not clearing the metadata on a Word document before sending it. It's just stories like that where, you know, first of all, some students don't even know what metadata is, that they're like, oh wow, this can actually cause me to lose my law license. That made them come to the Word training and PDF training courses, or the lunch talks that we had at my school, was that there is stuff that they still don't know, because, you know, people don't realize that a lot of the functionality that you use up until, you know, law school is just only 10% of what Word is actually capable of.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's, for me, I mean, I was lucky because I had done consulting before, so using the Office suite was part of the game. And I had done papers in undergrad, and so having done that, you should know your way around footnotes pretty well. But yeah, I definitely worked with folks in law school with different levels of familiarity with Word and Excel, with tools like that. You know, I love the fact that Irene's law school offered those trainings in Word. Yeah, I think my school should do the same thing. Either as a bridge, you would call it bridge courses, on credit, shorter courses, or just, you know, lunch and learn events or what have you. But those are, I think that would be really helpful. Something I heard from different folks at my school was that there's this attitude of, well, you know, that's what support staff is for and things like that. That's, I think, a dangerous attitude to take, because as an attorney, yeah, you have your license on the line, but you're still responsible. And a lot of these firms are going, they're not relying on as heavy an amount of support staff as they used to. A lot of people go to smaller firms with very few to no support staff, so you got to know this stuff. And so, yeah, offering those kind of trainings or short, you know, shorter, fewer credit courses would really help level the playing field.
I think add on to Toby's point, yeah, I think like being able to, I think the law school, like, as part of the practical experience, like being able to use Excel more properly. For example, if you work for a small solo law firms or you're planning to start one, like be able to create your own business plan. And part of that business plan is crunch down numbers, projected revenue, projected expenses, and we probably should learn how to use Excel properly to automate the calculations for the business plan, for example. But I think Irene probably touched upon quite a few points I want to make.
And I won't belabor the point anymore either. I think just going back to your question, it was simply, as through K through 12, you do use this technology, but even today in my normal life, I just use it for internet browsing and word processing. I'm not really diving into the features. So what I was taught in college was, I was an economics major, so in business. It was a lot around Excel, spreadsheets, but honestly, the maturity level of an 18 and 19-year-old, and then forgetting that over 2 or 3 years with the frightening experience of going to law school, for me, that's what it came down to.
Thank you.
Another question?
Yes. Actually, I think this works pretty well, but give it a try.
I am a software developer, and I've just come to law school out of a sense of, there I am, outrage at what big tech monopolies are doing to us. I just wanted you guys to note that, okay, you might be in a bind if you're a Microsoft NextGen Fellow, but what I don't want to see is Microsoft turning legal technology into its own monopoly. Please don't forget that you're talking about word processing software, not Microsoft Word, and spreadsheets, not Microsoft Excel. There are alternatives. I know that the legal world seems to be like the last bastion of Word Perfect, but there are other free and open source alternatives available as well. So don't help Microsoft reinforce their monopoly. Thank you.
So I see what you're saying. I think it's a very good point. I know, I've used OpenOffice and tools like that before. I've used GIMP instead of Photoshop. So there are certain tools out there. We use Google Docs and a lot of non-confidential work that's out there right now. I think I would say students are going to be in a good position to champion those tools when they're in purchasing positions at firms or on their own side of things. I would though counter that to say you still got to know the software that's the predominant part of the market, but certainly we shouldn't forget that there are alternatives.
I think open source software and open source tools are definitely very useful, especially I think they could be part of this whole experimentation for law schools to get law students into legal tech, because you have open source software codes that are available online that students can experiment with without any consequence, as long as there's proper citation. But so I think those can be really great in this whole push for law students to learn legal tech.
Great, yes.
It's a question, I know the panel's running tight, so whoever wishes to answer can answer. I've noticed that a lot of the discussion regarding convincing law students to learn this has been focused around sort of fear-based narratives and this idea that you need to sort of scare the law students straight in order to get them to learn these skills or to adapt these skills. I imagine there's probably sort of similar language being used to convince faculty to a certain extent that if you don't do it, this horrible thing will happen to your students. I'm just curious, have you encountered or thought of any not fear-based ways of getting people excited about doing this, or is this entirely a we need to rake them over the coals approach?
I totally see it as it's an opportunity here. It's really an opportunity to expand your skill set and to touch back on some of the work that I've done. It's really about, for us, it's about helping people and leveraging technology to do that. There's a lot of legal technology companies out there today and that operate on a model where they do have paid services, but they also give back to legal aid organizations and maybe small solo practitioners that can't afford this. So for me, it's about the opportunity that it brings, and it's not as much fear.
In my experience, especially working with the director on the program review of our legal technology program, you can't really scare tenured faculty into doing anything. So we have to work on a more collaborative approach of incorporating them into our courses and sort of working with them on how they could tie some of this in, how they could, teach some of the courses and really work with us to be able to champion this forward. Another pillar too that seems to really work well with faculty is a lot of legal technology field is understanding when technology is appropriate, and it's not always the case that technology is appropriate. So when you frame it like that you're not, trying to, put technology and innovation everywhere, you're trying to help your students understand when it's appropriate, faculty are more willing to get on board to sort of help further that understanding.
And also couching it too as not just an opportunity to help people, but also help yourself. It's about improving your quality of life and really allowing yourself to do higher level legal work and training students to do that so that they're more competitive in the market.
Great. Okay, we're at close. Please help me thank our panelists. And their information is still up there.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So, did Zoom work pretty well?
Oh, yeah, Zoom is awesome.
Yeah.
Better than